You've gotten to meet David Grusch. You've gotten to hang out with Lou Elizondo, with Beatrice Villaroy.
Diana Pasulka.
That's
Mario
right.
Woods, Whitley Strieber, like
even Jake Barber.
Yeah. That Grusch piece was an underperformer for Yes Theory, even though all the metadata on the back end on YouTube Studio
was
said that this should be one of Yes Theory's best ever videos.
No way.
Within 24 hours, just the line completely flatlined. And we're talking about only 2 cameras had access to him during this entire time.
That's right.
Myself and Jess. We were with him in the 4 or 5 days after the hearing. We saw his phone get blown up by every single media entity in the world wanting to talk to him. So we know that people were interested in his story, and we know that it doesn't make sense when there's only 2 pieces of content on the internet about his story.
What I do want to talk about is Elio.
Okay, come and get me. I'm trying to get abducted.
Full-fledged Disney production of a child named Elio who wants to be abducted by aliens, whose aunt is part of Space Force. Soft disclosure for the kids.
Soft disclosure for the kids. You're priming a child to grow up to not fear these concepts of abduction, and they are even talking about like having samples taken. Like it was normalizing things.
Probe.
Probe. Oh, I'm just getting probed. Like he was happy to get probed.
And they mention Arrow.
That was the craziest mention in the whole film, I think.
Mention what it is?
Negative. But Arrow's here and NASA's on the way.
You know, we watched the end credits here. The producers gratefully acknowledge the cooperation of the United States Department of Defense and Department of the Air Force. You've had a few sightings.
I'll talk about the most recent one, just because it's the one that lasted the longest.
And how long was this sighting?
3 to 4 minutes.
Whoa!
Yeah. You know, seek discomfort was the guiding principle in my life. To it being even more specific, I'm just like seeking disclosure at this point.
I am a former SWAT police officer in Birmingham, Alabama. I was working at the Homewood Police Department on July 2nd, 2012. I was going in for night shift roll call at 22:05 hours. It was dark, of course, because it was at night, and there was low clouds. There was an airplane flying out of the Birmingham airport, and right under those low clouds, just hundreds of feet above City Hall, which was directly across from the police department, I saw a orange orb about the size of a small, like a Volkswagen car, just pop out of the bottom of the clouds, sit motionless, lighting up underneath the clouds. That's when everything changed for me. It's something I'll never forget. It was clear as day, just a bright ball of light. And then it just zoomed off into the clouds.
Quick heads up, folks. Area 52 is now shipping from the U.S. That means no more tariffs, no duties, and no surprise fees for anyone ordering in the United States. And for Black Friday, we got some brand new drops, including the new cardigans available in 3 colors, the exact ones I've been wearing in my videos, plus Area 52 branded tie and tie clip set, suspenders, EDC journal pouches, fresh journals, and black trucker hats, all of which are perfect stocking stuffers for any fan of the channel. And for this weekend only, you'll see up to 30% off automatically at checkout. Everything's now live at area52.shop. Grab what you want before it's gone. Enjoy the video.
It's happening.
It is happening.
From being Area 52's biggest fan to just to being in the skiff.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ammar Kandil. Ammar, you are an inspiration to so many people. You know, I mean, I don't even have to introduce you, but for those of you who don't know, Ammar is part of a very successful YouTube channel that is called Yes Theory, one of my favorite channels in the world. You guys are just an inspiration to people, to millions of people across the world. You do the coolest things, and including following up on a lot of UFO stuff. And that's partially what we're going to be talking about today, is your adventure in and around the UFO phenomenon, how you came about it, where you are currently and where you're going with this, because it's quite exciting to see your venture. But regardless, Ammar, I am so thankful to have you here. Thank you for joining me in the skiff.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude. I mean, we can start anywhere, but I'd like to maybe just get to know you a little bit more prior to, this whole UFO stuff. We were first introduced through Jesse Michaels at the 2024 UFO hearing, UAP hearing in Washington, D.C., which we almost didn't go to. It was like a whole thing. And then we connected there. But you went to the one before that. And in fact, you got to spend time with America's, #1 current whistleblower, David Grusch, which is wild. But before that, what got you into this phenomenon?
2020, lockdown. Yes, theory had taken a big hit with mobility, just being able to move and film in different places. What we do is very much experiential. We go out, chase adventures, stories, interact with people, and then all of a sudden during COVID, everything changed. And I had a friend of mine, Sky Collins, who's a creator on YouTube, messaged me and she goes, "You should check out this Netflix series called Unsolved Mysteries. There's an episode about a case that happened in the Berkshires in Massachusetts in '69, and I think you'll find it interesting." And in my mind, I'm like, Sky, I'm not really into UFOs. I kind of cringe when I hear these stories, or when I watch videos on YouTube about people talking about the light in the sky that showed up and the thing that came out of the craft. Yeah. And in my mind, it was always this like very American thing. And remember, I got back home, I put on Unsolved Mysteries, and there's just something about the way that story specifically was told that didn't have the things that would usually turn me off about these stories. Like the way they put the edit together, the way the story is told, the way they do the interviews, the way they put music over the events. It's usually just like horror vibe. And I'm like, it doesn't need anything more. It doesn't need to be more scary than what people are narrating. People are, describing the events that happened to them. So it just always ticked me off. I always felt like I'm being pushed to believe, like I'm being directed to feel the specific feeling or to think, to have this specific thought as I'm listening to the story. I didn't like that.
I get that with ghost stories, by the way.
Yeah.
Same vibe.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was always one category, the paranormal.
Sure, fair.
The things that are outside of this reality.
Yep.
And not that I was, closed-minded. I mean, now in retrospect, I look at myself and I'm like, yeah, of course, I was close-minded.
Sure.
So, but at least I didn't think of myself as a closed-minded person. In fact, I thought I was very curious. But it was that experience that just made me kind of reconsider my entire worldview and the judgment calls that I'd made in the past about people that have shared stories like this. So back to COVID, I watched Unsolved Mysteries. I was completely blown away by the testimonies, and it was two people in that story that I just felt like I really wanted to ask more questions to.
So for those at home, could you maybe give us a cliff notes of what happened during that case?
Yeah. So in September 1st of 1969, about 300 people from 4 or 5 neighboring towns end up seeing something in the sky that was spectacular, that just didn't belong to where people saw it. And a few of those people were children with their parents that end up disappearing from where they were. Some were hanging out by the lake with their parents. Some were in the car coming back with, their grandma and mom from the diner that they own. Just different stories and different circumstances, but the commonality was these kids disappeared and they ended up on a craft where some sort of testing took place. And, you can imagine, like, I'm coming from a non-believer to a story where people say that they end up on a craft and samples were taken out of them, and there's
physical evidence
on people's bodies. So it just really shook me to my core. But more so than me synthesizing the information that was being shared with me, it was actually more about me feeling almost a sense of shame that I judged those people without putting the effort in vetting the information myself. And especially with how traumatic people described the event to them and the amount of vulnerability it took for them to actually just come forward and share that. And for me to just be so egotistical, to just think I know better and I don't even need to look into what they're presenting in front of me. And that shook my entire reality, and it made me just go down to the biggest rabbit hole of my whole life. That was 5 years ago. My life completely changed. And ever since, I just gradually developed a deeper and deeper interest towards the phenomenon. And actually, like, the beginning was more the phenomenon of us not believing other fellow human beings that tell us things that break our construct of reality, more so than me trying to even begin to figure out what are we looking at or who is visiting or any of these bigger questions. I was just interested in, like, why are we doing that with each other and what has been the plan in place to get us to do that with one another. Because I think it's, now with what I know about the phenomenon, about the way disclosure has been, engineered over the years, I think that the current discourse in society is no accident. There's a reason people have been conditioned over so many years with a laugh cue every time a celebrity on a talk show says that they've seen a UFO.
My God, yeah.
It's almost an automatic thing. And I could just start seeing all these things after that experience, after I came back and after I, told that story for the first time. Obviously, also on Yes Theory, the nature of the story is very positive. It's
wholesome,
hope-giving, a lot of adventure. So this was just like we were all worried that people would be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, this is not what Yes Theory is. But for me, it was like the core of what Yes Theory is, which is to seek discomfort. That's the guide and the North Star guiding principle for the whole movement, for what we do and when we pick episodes. And for me, there was nothing that was more comfortable, that was more of seeking discomfort than for me to reconsider my worldview.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Did you receive some partial backlash from the other Yes Theory members prior to that? And did you see some of their the way they see reality shift before, during, and after? Did you get to witness that? And as well as your own?
Yeah, so what I got to witness was actually the people that I took with me on that mission, because one of them was Tommy, who's the lead editor of Yes Theory, the head of Post. And he is just one of the most pragmatic, skeptical people that you can, and not in a negative sense, but he's just...
Yeah, very logical.
Yeah, he, studying math in college, and his reality was very much shook, but in a way where he actually got so scared that he, even though he was there talking to the same people that I talked to, he kind of can post that experience had the opposite effect on him, where he just didn't want to hear more about it.
Wow.
I think it scared him quite a bit. The things that were shared, people ending up on crafts, and as I said, samples are taken. It is hard to go from zero to abductions. You're not talking about someone who saw a craft in the sky and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. That's a bit easier to take in. But I thought that, I knew that he was going to be the one editing the Grusch piece with me a year after that, or 3 years after that. And to me, knowing how anti the topic he became post the Berkshires,
yes,
I knew that if working on the piece that we're gonna make about Grusch can allow him to get to the other side and actually see the other perspective and start opening up his mind more, then I know that we will be making something that is really good, that has the same potential to do for other people out there who may have never come across the subject. And even though there was a lot of resistance, I was actually worried about editing that piece with him, because I was just like, I really want someone to have their heart in it. I want someone to almost have the same conviction that I have, so that we can put a piece that has that energy. But I actually in the process realized oh no, that balance was really important, because he was treating it as himself watching that piece, and I was treating it as also someone with a lot of passion towards truth and towards uncovering this, this reality here. So that balance of having these two perspectives in the piece, and I think end up generating a piece that wasn't just speaking to believers or just skeptics.
Yeah.
But actually end up doing both.
Yeah. And, the outcome of that Berkshire video was immense. I mean, even for Yes Theory, who does have a huge following, that was like kind of unprecedented.
Yeah.
Like you look at something like that, you're touching a brand new niche like you said, this isn't the format. This isn't what we normally do. It's a complete left turn.
Yeah.
And yet ended up getting 7 million views. This thing just goes off. The comments are, quite positive. Yeah. For a channel that doesn't delve into the UFO stuff regularly, you would expect, a lot more of like, what the hell is this? But no, it hit mainstream audiences, and because of the way that you were able to tell that story from someone experiencing it for the first time, not someone biased like myself, not someone, who's bought in. It's someone who's discovering. And I think that discovery people connect with, just much like, when you guys are in some random city and have to find a place to sleep without money. It's watching your reality change with the things that you learn and getting to witness that on camera. I think that's what connects to people.
100%.
Not just the UFO stuff, but how you deal with the UFO stuff. And I think that might inspire a lot of people in questioning themselves. Like, maybe I took too hard of a look at that too. Maybe I should also do a little more research before I, flippantly judge this.
Spot on.
So it's very, very powerful.
And that was my whole goal of because basically pretty much what I did is I recreated that episode that I watched on Unsolved Mysteries, but in a way where I knew that I'm bridging a gap in the storytelling, that I had to almost, turn a blind eye on a few things in that piece that still weren't ideal, because they were like the classic TV editing, kind of like bit dated. But I knew that I could tell that story and I could ask questions that are even more relevant to a young person watching.
Yeah, someone who has no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm gonna do it in an atmosphere where it's just like young people curious, and there's the you see Tommy being a little scared and uncomfortable with it. You see me excited, but like the entire time I'm just like being floored by everything that is being shared. You see Sky, who was there, who knew about the case, asking even deeper questions. So that's when I realized that there's a gap that exists in the storytelling about the phenomenon.
Do you think that you would have been on this path had that video tanked?
Ooh.
Hard to say, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that video could have tanked.
No,
but
I think...
do you think it would have deviated, or it would have just taken longer for you to get there?
The only difference it would have made is that it wouldn't have allowed me to make the Grusch piece.
Which did change everything.
Except that Grusch piece was an underperformer for Yes Theory, even though all the metadata on the back end on YouTube Studio said that this should be one of Yes Theory's best ever videos.
No way.
Highest watch time, higher watch time than Project Iceman, the 2-hour documentary that is on YouTube.
Higher watch time?
And Project Iceman is double.
No way.
Yeah. So I was looking at the metadata as, in the first 24 hours, and I was like, okay, this is gonna rip. This is perfect. I think within 24 hours, just the line completely flatlined. YouTube recommendations like significantly.
Did you get flagged?
Lower. That's what I believe. Like I would.
No, but like, did you get actually flagged?
No,
you didn't see anything on the front end?
No. It's just complete flat line of growth on that video.
That makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. And I would I would put money on the fact that something was done to that video.
Do you know what else is strange? Your personal data, your search history, your shopping habits, all of that has a life of its own. It moves. It gets duplicated, sold, traded, all behind the scenes without you ever seeing it happen. There's this entire hidden economy built on you, your information. Companies called data brokers collect everything they can, bundle it, and push it around in the background of the internet for profit. And unless you actively stop it, it never ends. And that's why I use Incogni. They go directly after those brokers and force them to delete your personal data. They handle the legal requests, the follow-ups, all the paperwork, and when you see the report of who had your information, let's just say it's eye-opening. If privacy matters to you, this is the first step in taking some control back at least. Go to incogni.com/area52 and use code area52 to save 60% off an annual plan. Incogni deletes your data from the internet so you don't have to.
Because I really think, the reality is people who already were interested in Grusch, interested in the hearing, those are the people that we're going to watch it anyways on Jesse's channel.
Yeah.
And we're going to watch the hearing on the news.
Sure.
But I think what we were doing is that we were introducing, the potentially 9-10 million people who may have never heard about this global audience.
Yeah.
And I think that if, to the power there be, that's too...
He was gaining a lot of traction
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
It was becoming mainstream media for sure.
Yeah.
And you were probably the most mainstream outlet.
And we're talking about only 2 cameras had access to him during this entire time.
That's right.
Myself and Jesse.
And it was immediately after.
We were with him in the 4 or 5 days after the hearing. We saw his phone get blown up by every single media entity in the world wanting to talk to him. So we know that people were interested in his story, and we know that it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, when there's only 2 pieces of content on the internet about his story,
yeah,
and both are done in very different ways. Jesse went into the technical, the historic.
His got flagged too, by the way.
Yeah. That's kind of the confirmation that I have that ours was under the microscope as soon as it went live, because Jesse put his piece, I think, a week before ours. So I think,
doesn't make sense.
But that's, as I said, your question was, if that first Berkshires video had tanked, I just wouldn't have been able to make that, but it would not have affected my interest in the subject, because if anything, I would, of course the video has maybe 1.5 million views, the one with Grusch, which, is great, and I'm very grateful for that. But for Yes Theory standards, for what this piece should have been and the circumstances that it came out in, that should be 10 million views.
Well, I mean, you got a video like Bob Lazar hopping on Rogan and it's got 65 million views. Obviously, it's Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But I mean, still.
Yeah.
This is the #1 current whistleblower in the whole sphere. This is the guy that on camera in front of Congress talked about aliens, essentially.
Yeah.
Everybody else is talking about, a light in the sky or fast-moving object on a blip on a radar.
Yeah.
This guy's saying we've retrieved bodies. And people want to hear about that.
And what we did is we created another public hearing, a true public hearing for Grusch. I think it was the morning after the hearing. We have a very strong community that is present in all over the world. So I put a call out on Instagram asking for skeptics and believers to send in a question that they would want to ask a whistleblower. I didn't give more context than that. And then I just picked 30 people that had a good balance between, in questions, and we just told them to show up to our hotel the following day, to the rooftop, and we set up this room. And so I know that we weren't just repeating something that is already in the hearing that someone wouldn't need to watch that video.
It was fresh content.
It was fresh content. It was, we're going with Grusch to his home. We're meeting his partner. We're asking her questions. All things that are looking behind the curtains.
Yeah.
But this guy, especially when he's coming to tell humanity one of the most profoundly shocking things that we've ever received from someone at this level. I thought people would have more interest in knowing who the hell this guy is. And I think that's what our piece was. Like, I wanted to show what's his motivation as a human being outside of all the official things that he's done, and you know, the yeah. So I
And in your words, what is that? What is his motivation outside of all that? Like, in your own experience from hanging out with him, meeting him, and knowing him personally, what's your gestalt on David Grusch?
First of all, I think he's a hero for what he's taken on to be able to say what he said, and everything that he's gone through post. You know, he 2023 is now almost 3 years ago, and you can see consistency in the position that he's had, and him not being you know, some media grifter that just wanted to promote a book or a movie or anything of that sort. You can just see that he was in it to truly deliver a truth to humanity based on the oath that he had taken. And I think it's, and I see that be a trend between people who've had jobs like Grusch, people who've just been in the military and the Air Force. I think there's a sense of remorse over certain type of missions, things that happen, wars that were fought, and that eventually, you know, years later, we're looking back and be like,
yeah,
what the fuck was that for? And I think for the potential that this topic offers humanity, and I think this is, I find it to be almost a way of like atoning for things that happened in the past. And yeah, with Grusch specifically, I think he's such a let me think about that, his motivation.
Do you
I just want to be careful around,
of course,
Grusch, so that's why I'm,
yeah, and you don't want to speak for him, I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you, in what you were able to observe, do you think he was happy with the outcome or disappointed?
The outcome being?
The outcome, what happened afterwards with Congress and everything else. Like,
I think he was disappointed.
Yeah.
Complete inability to get him in a skiff to say what he needed to say. Like, he really went above and beyond in telling them how they can get the information that they need. And yes, I am not the guy that touched the craft, but I talked to 40 people that you know, in some shape or form have, and I can give you all the names, all the places, but they just refuse to make the extra steps or have been blocked from taking the extra steps.
Probably more
and that's
likely.
That's just to any American out there, that's your answers right there. You have a guy that tells you, I will tell you where these things are kept, and there's no follow-up.
Yeah.
And obviously everything that he's, you know, still goes through. You know, last month, and I think Luna talked about it, like some of the things that he's going through and the threats that he's getting. So
a smear campaign as well,
yeah,
and like all that stuff. Yeah,
and the funny thing is that he had told us about that smear campaign on the ride after we picked him from the airport.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he almost, I think it's in Jesse's video where he talks about them pulling out his mental health records because of PTSD. Like, he almost called out what was going to happen in 2 days.
Huh.
Yeah, and I thought that was just
it's deplorable.
Yeah.
As you know, I have a father who suffered from PTSD. I had a father who suffered from PTSD, you know, for a very long time, very severe as well, very, very severe. But my dad wouldn't lie to me because of it.
Yeah.
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 Like, of course, you know, he had moments of where he just didn't want to be around people, or there was too much noise, or, you know, even, you know, he's had my father had like some daytime hallucinations, sometimes a very, very severe case of PTSD. But he would never just lie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that as being a clear symptom.
Yeah.
You know, of course, you know, that's the thing when you hand-wavingly put everything into one category of, bad mental health and say, well, you're not credible. I think that's just a disservice to so many people who've served in the military.
For sure.
And, firefighters and police officers and everything else. Like there's that was one of the lowest blows that I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, I think he's made the right call in just being very selective with who tells his story.
Yeah.
And of course, I feel extremely lucky that he, entrusted Jesse and I to do that. And, I'm proud of what we've been able to make in the time that we've had to be able to put these pieces out. But definitely, if anything, again, back to the original question, it's me feeling that video was blocked is what just made me want to double down 1,000 times more.
Oh, it backfired on them.
100%. I feel like there's a gap in I don't want to call it in the market because that's not how I look at it, but there's a gap in this space where if you're someone who doesn't know much about this topic, there's not so many access points on YouTube where you can just like watch.
Ease your way in.
Watch someone just like handhold and walk you through some of these cases. Like, my favorite 2 channels on YouTube are American Alchemy and Area 52.
I appreciate
that. But sometimes I'm hesitant to tell someone who I am just getting into the topic to go watch, to go check out Area 52 because I'm like, oh my God, if they go and watch
the wrong
Peter
video,
Khoury's video about like alien hair and DNA and
yeah,
which was an amazing, just an incredible story, and props to him for just having the courage to come and share.
I get it. Like there are better intro videos than that to ease someone in. Yeah, you bring up a fair point. And it's probably something that I should also be cognizant of for when I come across people who want to know what I do. I should probably have some intro level video at least, and I'm sure if I look at my catalog, I can choose one to be like, start here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually,
definitely don't start with the lizard people or something.
Very quick and very random, but I think that can be fixed with creating a playlist for the channel that will be
new
like
here.
Exactly. That will just sequentially be able to take someone through, a 3-4 episodes that just perfectly kind of give you the lay of the land.
You've done this before.
Yeah. And so and also the other thing is the age of the people interested in the phenomenon.
Isn't that crazy?
I was shocked. Like, I knew that it would probably lean.
I'm gonna pull it up,
please. I knew that it would probably lean older, but when last night you told me about the demographic stats of your audience, I was like, oh my God, that needs to be one of the first things that we address to actually allow for the subject to gain the traction that it needs.
And we're gonna go to audience here, and I'm gonna pull it up for you so you can see for yourselves. All right. Oh yeah, there you go. I mean,
okay, so
vastly different.
So this is the age. Oh my God, this is the age breakdown of.
That was the last 30 days.
Area 52's audience. You have 13 to 17, 0%.
Yeah.
I have never seen that on YouTube. 18 to 24, 1.8%. And then 25 to 34, 16.5. 35 to 44, 30%. 45 to 54, 24%, quarter of the audience. 55 to 64.
Plus. Or is that 64?
Yeah. 55 to 64, 16.1%. 65 plus, 11.3%. I have never, in 10 years I've been on YouTube, I have never seen anyone have the 55 to 65 plus be quarter of the audience. Literally quarter of the audience for you is 55 years old plus.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to go even further than that, over half of your audience, 60% of your audience is over 35 years old. And I just think this topic is going to affect our generation more than them.
I absolutely agree.
And if anything, we need to just be better prepared because when the time comes and something happens, they're going to overwhelm the heck. They're going to flood the space with just so much. The goal is going to be to overwhelm people in a way where the only thing that they would have left is to just believe whatever narrative that they're going to put forward.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like I would like to participate in preparing the world for.
Ushering
and not
in that
and
new...
not in like I'm like the hero that is gonna do it. I just feel like I've been given a very specific set of skills that I've been able to use in a way that I've been like extremely grateful for over the years, to just create impact and allow people to live out their biggest dreams and their highest selves. And I just feel like at this point I need to use that to tell better stories that will create these access points for people who don't know anything about this.
That's a great point.
And use the fact that I have some level of trust of people seeing, you know, my journey over 10 years on YouTube, and just put that on the line. Like, I literally willing to risk that, to be like, this is worth this is worth paying attention to right now, not tomorrow, not after, like just right now. We need to be understanding what is happening, what's going to happen, because it's going to be very important when shit hits the fan that we have a grounded perspective on what's going on.
Yeah, well said. And if you need any pointers on making that transition.
Oh my God. I mean, I just felt the way this happened. I had just landed in New York because I was running the New York City Marathon a few days ago, and you texted me going, what would it take to get you to the skiff? And I was on the plane, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, what would it take? I would come from across the world to be in the skiff. Like, I almost feel the entire time, you know, for however long we've been recording, I feel almost like an imposter. I feel like I shouldn't be here. There's so many people with so many incredible stories and perspectives. Like, I just, so yeah, it just ended up working. You know, I live in Paris now. I live in Europe, and you know, New York to here, it's an 1.5-hour flight, and the timing that to come and have this conversation and be just immensely inspired by what you've built here, and the leap that you've taken from being one of the biggest magic and puzzle channels on YouTube in the world to just being, no, you know what, I am going to head on pursue this like thing that I'm curious about, that I think is really important, and I'm going to do it in the best way possible. I'm going to take hundreds of thousands of people soon enough to be millions people on that journey in a way that truly like allows people to become more curious. I love what you say around, you know, suspend your judgment, leave it at the door, just consider this to be a thought experiment. And really, because I think when there is a hyperfixation on facts and information, I think people have the fallacy of thinking that's what you need to change someone's mind. But from my perspective, from my experience, it's you need to make someone feel something so profound and so deep to their core that will inspire that journey of them changing their mind. It starts with the heart, and then the mind, you know, the mind follows there. Definitely. And I really love the way you've been able to put out these stories in a way that makes them digestible, fun to watch. You know, I feel like, you know, someone can be like, oh, this is too gimmicky, but I actually think you're doing the opposite. You're just creating an environment where someone can last 3.5 hours listening to the craziest thing they're ever going to listen to. And I definitely, you know, I'm inspired, as I said, inspired by the greats, you know, Jesse and yourself. And I want to, as I said, I see us covering different grounds in the phenomena. Jesse's going head on at the, you know, technical and the historic, and you're going on with like just the way how do you actually tell the story to someone to make them open and to ask more questions. And the way I see myself participating in this is, as I said, create these access points where more young people can have access to the phenomenon, and more people who just don't know much about it can pursue it. So it's almost moving from, you know, seek discomfort was the guiding principle in my life, to it being even more specific. I'm just like seeking disclosure at this point, and not the Congress disclosure. It's the disclosure that is happening by
personal disclosure.
By the personal one that is happening within, that is, you know, allowing me to feel like I've gotten so much deeper into esoterics and religion and creation and my belief in God and spirituality. Like the topic and my interest in it has improved my life in so many ways.
Wow.
And has allowed me to know some of the brightest, most incredible minds and hearts that I've ever met. Even, you know, Jesse and I were just in Norway chasing a story there. Can't wait for it to come out at the end of the year. About the ghost rockets, which is a phenomenon that, you know, is happening back in the 50s. And I just, the people that we were just meeting on a daily basis, and, the people who are into UFOs out in Scandinavia, Norway, and Sweden, and you just see people who are driven by such purity in their intention to uncover this truth. There's no, of course you have to filter out people, but I've been lucky to come across the ones that are literally sacrificing to be able to do this work so that more people know about it.
Yeah.
Where the very minimal personal gain is being made out of it.
Yeah. And first of all, thank you for the kind words, and I'm so glad you're a part of the space. I'm so glad that you're interested in this, and you're no stranger to being uncomfortable. And so that definitely helps someone like you get into this stuff. You might actually be more well equipped to handle a lot of this than most people because of that, right? Because of, whether it's bungee jumping out of a helicopter or,
skydiving from 25.
Skydiving from, or going on top of the pyramid of Giza, or like all these like wild things that you've done. Aliens might not be so wild.
I'm just looking for them, man. I'm just, actually, it's funny. Like, I look back at post 2020 when I got into the subject. Like, I would have moments when I'm skydiving. I'm like, I would belly fly, so I would just do nothing except like go on my belly, and I'm just like scanning any orbs out there.
Yeah, any orbs out there. Yeah, I do the same in an airplane.
Yeah, but it's actually because I'm a skydiver. I'm also, and I know I have the perspective of looking at things from the sky and falling at such speed.
Yeah.
To just know how vast the sky is. And people who think that if there's something in the sky, I have to see it. You have no idea what you're talking about. Because I can see I jump out of a plane and I'm like turning around, I'm seeing that plane get smaller so fast until it just disappears.
Yeah.
And that's a big plane, let alone be whatever size of object that we're, looking for. So, man, as I said, I'm in this, this conversation feels very relevant to the point that I'm at. I've been doing Yes Theory for 10 years now, and I decided to take the last 3 months off in the year and really just get to lock in and figure out how do I mix the mission that I've been on with Yes Theory, which feels like my life mission, giving a sense of belonging to people that watch through the community that forms around the ideas that we present, or just the idea of being a human being on planet Earth and seeing the different explorations through the different cultures and places that we get to visit. That's always been the ethos, the core that is like driving me personally within Yes Theory. So now I have that like inspiring a sense of belonging about our human experience, and then this other calling where I'm like, I feel something massive coming, the biggest paradigm shift in the history of our species. And I feel like these two things can be morphed into a new project that ultimately even allows me to feel that I'm truly responding to that calling.
Yeah.
Without it being it's the two silos, my disclosure, truth-seeking, disclosure-seeking mission that that I've been lucky to be able to do and support, on Jesse's channel. And my life and work with Yes Theory, and I don't really like the fact that they have kind of split,
right?
Especially, and that's the unfortunate thing, post the Grusch piece, it not landing in the way that we had hoped. I'm a bit hesitant to repeat, even though it's probably, as I say, it's probably more driven by fear, but also I think there's not a lot of spaces in the world, whether online or physical, that are unifying and not polarizing.
Yeah.
And we've spent 10 years building Yes Theory to be one of the most unifying online spaces. That maybe the hesitancy is just coming from, like, I don't want to put a topic in it that will just create a divide within an audience that feels so cohesive.
Fair.
And that's been, some of our conversations with you basically inviting me to just start something from scratch and take the ones who are interested in this.
People who are on similar journeys will find you.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to waste your time, or I wouldn't say waste your time, but you don't want to spend most of your time trying to convince those who don't want to be convinced.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of it's a lot of waste of energy that can be put towards nurturing a relationship that you have with people who are curious.
Yeah.
And then also possibly through that relationship that you're fostering with these curious people, you are creating an energy that does attract other people
Exactly.
who aren't interested. You know, eventually they're going, what's going on? Maybe I should see what's going on over there. And you know, they'll come check it out when they're ready.
Yeah.
And not everybody's on the same page. And I'm very cognizant of that. I think that it's very important. We're all on different life paths. We all, whether you believe in, reincarnation, and we're here many, many times learning many different lessons, like we're not all in that same lesson right now.
Yeah.
Some people are maybe just starting out, and some people are so much further past that it looks like they're starting out to us, but they just have become nihilistic or like, or on some other frequency. So, yeah.
I also think it's unfortunately a privilege to be able to have the time to think about all these things.
Sure.
And I think, I've been, since last night, since you told me about the demographics, I've kind of been obsessing over like, why is that? It feels like it's, again, more relevant to us. It's going to affect our life in the short term, I think more profoundly than someone in their 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of think of it as like, well, someone in their 50s or 60s, they've already done life. They've bought their house. They've had their life is pretty simple.
Yeah, they're not afraid of scrutiny anymore.
Their hierarchy of needs is met.
Yeah.
And now they have time to self-actualize and think about...
And ask the bigger questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's just a matter of not being in the place in life where these are the questions that you're trying to answer. You're just trying to answer like, what job am I going to have?
How do I pay rent?
How do I pay rent?
My student debt's racking up. And that's totally normal. That's okay. And you make a great point. I think, there's, the audience. I'm grateful that the audience, by the way, is like my age and up for me from this channel, because coming from a YouTube channel where the audience wasn't so much younger, it was definitely like 18 to 35. But I also had under 18, watching the puzzles and the magic stuff. Getting into a more mature audience, it allowed me to have more mature conversations and ideas that otherwise perhaps a less seasoned mind might dismiss as being completely insane, whereas someone who's had time to sit around and think for a bit might go, hey, you know what, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why it does attract an older crowd. But I also think that the older crowd dealt with it a lot more than we have so much coming at us right now. The kids with phones and stuff, it's flavor of the week. So, okay, we got a congressional hearing. We're talking about it years later. They're not talking about it 2 weeks after it happened.
We're talking about a congressional hearing this year that happened around 9/11, Charlie Kirk's assassination. So you're like, good luck having anyone even pay attention to what was said.
No
matter how groundbreaking it is.
Yeah. So, you had to sit and stew in a lot of those things back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. You had to sit with that information, and that was all you had.
Yeah.
You had no further information, until it was brought to light. So I think a lot of, cases as well, they're some of the best researchers in ufology existed in those times, and they made it their whole life's mission to get the word out about whether it's abductions or the UFO, phenomenon. And I think that had a long and lasting and profound impact on that generation. And perhaps there was a gap there during maybe the early 2000s and now where, there wasn't as a sharp as an impact as, the predecessors had. So, maybe that's where the social media stuff starts to come in now. And maybe, like you said, maybe there is now more than ever a way for, this younger generation to get involved.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you had to right now, and you're talking to, a young audience member, but they're not watching, but if you were hypothetically, right?
Young in the heart.
I'm not saying you guys are too old, all right? I'm saying, where would you point them if you had to point them to one source of content, whether it's a book, a movie, a podcast, or show, what would that be? What would you tell them?
It's a very obscure one.
It's not going to be Elio, is it?
No, we just watched, which we should
We'll
get
talk
to.
about it
Yeah,
after.
we should get to. There's actually a show. Let me just confirm the name so I don't botch it.
Well, I would suggest going to check out his Berkshire video on YouTube. Definitely, I'll put the link in the description. You definitely want to watch that, even if you are a seasoned veteran in the UFO stuff. Go watch the Yes Theory UFO videos and watch their other videos too.
It is called.
If you pull up Flight of the Navigator, I'm going to be pretty impressed.
No, it's called. It's an MGM Plus.
Also, great question for the audience while you're looking that up. Audience, in the comments below, if I'm new to this, like brand new, what's a book, movie, show, or
That's a
podcast
great
that
prompt.
you would suggest? And hopefully whoever comes across this video, has this crazy repertoire of like awesome insight. So
Oh, that's a
let us
beautiful
know.
prompt. Please do that. It's actually a show called Beyond that came out November 17th, 2024. And it's by MGM Plus.
Is it Leslie Keen's on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
It's 4 episodes, and I just thought it was one of the best made, most coherent UFO series ever made. Because it doesn't just focus on the nuts and bolts, it's also the consciousness interface part. It felt like an amazing, if someone has a deep, genuine interest in this is an amazing place to go to
Great recommendation.
be able to and again, because it was an MGM Plus, like I just did the
1 week.
trial 1
Yeah.
week and watched it, and I was really, really blown away.
Yeah, I remember seeing
And
it
I
too.
think you can probably find, I think they end up putting maybe an episode or 2 on YouTube so that they
the
can
first
promote
episode,
it.
I think.
So check it out there, and on Apple TV you can always get to it. But when I feel like that's too high of a friction for someone to go and sign up or something, I usually say The Phenomenon.
That's what I was going to say.
James Fox.
It's it's probably the best entry point, I think, in terms of a documentary.
Yeah.
Because it covers such a massive scale of, sightings, encounters, run-ins, like all this from legacy to,
And The Phenomenon was that was the first thing that I watched after, because The Phenomena came out the day after I put the Berkshires
Oh, wow.
out.
So you
or
were
something like that.
You were like
So
right
yeah.
in there.
And then in The Phenomenon, the aerial case, which was the very end of the film, was what got me to just be like, what is in here?
Yep.
I want to know more. There was something about watching kids. Like I responded to old people, people in their late 50s and 60s. Sorry. So
Yeah, careful.
Yeah, old.
Them's fighting words around here.
That I just, looked at and realized, they have no reason to lie. I had a similarly but different feeling when kids were describing what they went through, and then that was also where I saw Dr. John Mack for the first time, and I had such a deep feeling towards him, and I didn't understand it then. I was like, who's this guy? Who was just asking questions and being so attentive to what kids were saying. And then I come across The Believer, which is, Dr. John Mack's biography, and I just read it. And something, I understood what that feeling that I had towards him after I got to know his story. Because he was just a true hero who sacrificed so much and put so much on the line to listen to people who had stories that nobody else believed.
Yeah,
and I think for me, because that's the way I got into The Phenomenon, I just felt so bad for the people that I talked to in the Berkshires video who, as I said, now in their 50s and 60s, who were just describing what they went through as kids and what their, Tom Reed, who's one of the main subjects of that case, his mom would be harassed. They owned a diner in the town, and his mom was like the refuge to all these kids that their parents didn't believe, but because Tom's mom was in the car with him, ending up switching places with his grandma, and
Who didn't drive.
Yeah. Like she had more empathy because she just didn't deny these kids what they went through. And
How could you?
And I just, I felt so mad at the world and at myself simultaneously, because I was one of those people that would, like, who knows what would have happened if I lived in that town during that time. If right now I have the entire internet, I have all of YouTube, and I could, if I just spare half an hour to an hour, maybe and I'm not a believer, or like I never had curiosity towards the subject, you just spend half an hour, and I promise that half an hour will make you want to ask more questions. I'm not going to say half an hour you're going to, with certainty know that the phenomenon is real.
Mm-hmm.
But at the least, that half hour should generate like another week of like research, because it should just be like all these question marks that you're coming across. And yeah, as I said, for me, because my entry point was failing to believe people that did everything to be vulnerable and share their truth. I really connected with Dr. John Mack, because I think that's what he did to people during the time that he started interviewing experiencers and abductees. And I just, I thought he was a great man, and I wanted in some shape or form to keep carrying that message of just giving people a platform, a way to listen to their stories attentively and make them feel seen and heard, and ultimately allow for this information to hopefully change something in the public.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something there that is really, I think, one of the things that comes up a lot in this space, which is the word belief. And I believe you, or I want to believe, or do you believe this person? Is that believable? This is unbelievable. This word is just such a binary concept, and there's no nuance to it.
No.
And I feel that that's not fair for something that requires an immense amount of nuance in this subject.
Agreed.
And so, Jesse refers to this a lot as well, and I do now as well, but like this idea of conviction level, because if I choose to believe something, then automatically more data comes in through a filter of belief. And if I choose to not believe, then I'm filtering out data that I don't want to hear, that doesn't fit my model.
Yeah.
And John Mack had a wonderful way of putting it. And in his book, Abductions, he said, there's three things you can do with information. You can either apply it, you can either, fit it into completely ignore it, fit it into your current model, or expand your worldview. And that's it. That's really all you can do.
Yeah.
And most people will do the first two. Most people will ignore. And I don't blame them for that. As you said, people got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Why would you shake up their whole life and they still got to go to work?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear about it. Totally fine. If you think it's going to rock your world too much, then who am I to say, you got to look at this?
Yeah.
And secondly, you have more people trying to fit it into their current worldview for the same reason. But also that's where the skepticism lies as well, is, it's a weather balloon, it's swamp gas, it's this and that. The hardest thing to do, and often the riskiest and the bravest, and, the one that'll probably ruin some relationships, is broadening your worldview. But one thing that you don't want to do right off the bat with that worldview is saying, I believe everything.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at anomalies, we automatically have to sort of look at all the anomalies within the anomaly.
Yeah.
And there are many anomalies, dude. There are lizard people that are Nazis that are on the moon. Like, it doesn't end, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone's out there like, what do you mean they're not real, But the idea is that, you have to sort of mitigate this belief. And I think a good way of doing that is, like you said, judgment-free. Let's just have the conversation. I don't need to tell you whether I believe you or not. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares what I think?
Yeah.
Let's just have the conversation, and thank you for sharing, what you think is true. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And if we can foster a community and a platform, multiple platforms that can do that, I think we're just helping disclosure in our own way.
100%.
Yeah.
And I almost have whenever I meet someone who has not come across the subject, I have like an immediate classification. You're either an open-minded skeptic, or just your classic closed-minded skeptic who will do the first two things. And that usually I will not. There's like I have a few litmus tests for how to like figure that out.
What's your initial litmus test? I want to know. I need to.
Well, it's usually just kind of seeing their initial reaction, bringing up the subject.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how do you bring it up? You usually like, oh, you see this UFO thing the other day, or like, do you casually bring it up, or do you like straight up go like, dude, I spoke to a whistleblower?
No. I usually ask a more general question. It was like, do you think we've been visited? Are we?
Well, that's interesting because that's a leading question too.
Yeah. Well, I almost.
You're ruling out the ultra-terrestrials now, Amar. You're ruling out the interdimensional.
Well, I think being visited from a realm. I'm not saying necessarily from up to down, but and usually the way they respond to the question tells me a lot about their
if they go, are you high?
Exactly. Or they just like have the classic kind of like they laugh and they're
a little green man.
Yeah. Rather than it being tell me more, or them having curiosity over the journey that makes me ask that question.
Right.
I think the ridicule part is my litmus test. It's like, is your instinct to ridicule someone for bringing that topic up, or is it to just ask more questions? But now I forgot where I was going with this.
That's good enough. I mean, we got somewhere. But what I do want to talk about is Elio.
Yeah,
we got to talk about this. So last night we're hanging out at the hotel, meeting Amar, and we're just like we're having dinner. And he goes, "Did you hear about this Pixar movie that was about alien abductions?" And I went, "What?" I'm like, "Surely you must be mistaken, or maybe it's like some foreign, small budget Pixar offshoot." No, full-fledged Disney production of a child named Elio who wants to be abducted by aliens, whose aunt is part of Space Force. What a wild ride, because what we were talking about, your journey, which we'll get into eventually here, but is about this like, creating some type of ambassadorship, if you like, on planet Earth for, the phenomenon out there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this movie's about.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it was so wild. Even the seed of motivation for the child in the film was the golden record, which is my...
And what's the golden record for those listening who might not know?
The golden record was basically the best description for it. It was the message in the bottle that we put out into space.
On the Hubble, right?
On Voyager.
On Voyager, right? Yeah, not the Hubble. Yeah.
And it is now the farthest objects that we've ever sent into space. They're about one light day away, which is just wild. All this time, the farthest object that we've ever managed to send is one light day away. But the golden record holds basically some fundamental information about life on Earth, about planet Earth, the makeup of life here, the fact that it's carbon-based, some references to DNA, and also an hour and a half of Earth's greatest hits. And when I got to learn about the golden record, I just felt so immensely inspired. And I immediately asked myself, what exists today that can give people that same feeling? Golden record was 50 years ago. And also, who picked the hour and a half? Like, whose decision was that? I didn't put my favorite Egyptian song in there. Like,
sure,
born and raised in Egypt. Like,
but a lot of things also 50 years ago that aren't too kosher nowadays.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what do we put on there?
Yeah.
Some bad tweets going out? What's going on?
And I just, I immediately just became obsessed with how do we recreate that experiment today in a way that makes it more global than ever, more reachable than ever, and more inclusive than ever.
And that was part of your sort of inspiration into like pursuing this and seeing that on this little Pixar movie right at the top. We're like, whoa, that's
you saw, I immediately teared up because it just felt like, it was like, oh, I really get what this child is feeling, because I felt that.
Yeah.
And, But yeah, I think let's go back to Elio before we get to Earth Embassy
sure.
and talking about that. Because I found it very odd that not a single person that I mentioned Elio to, not a single person that I mentioned Elio to, and this is a Disney Pixar. They spend millions, tens of millions of dollars in marketing.
And it's decent.
When they make movies, they make sure that people know that a movie was made. Nobody knew. So that's like general public. Yeah. I thought maybe my friends who are in the UFO space would would hear about this. You know, the trailer went out a year ago. Nobody knew anything. A year ago.
That's crazy. Dude, this is not...
Yeah.
I had no idea what you were talking about.
Well, I only saw the trailer in March of this year. So I didn't even see it when it came out a year ago.
How did you see it? Just on Twitter or YouTube or something?
On YouTube.
Yeah.
And not even that it showed up. It's just someone mentioned the new Pixar and I was like, Elio, I haven't heard of that. But they didn't even mention in the context of it being like about the
aliens
interest that I have.
Yeah.
It was just like... And then I watched the trailer. I remember it was 2 minutes of just goosebumps because what the trailer referenced made me perfectly see that this was, if there's like a plan to prepare the public for what's to come, this is one of the biggest moves that you could make.
Soft disclosure for the kids.
Soft disclosure for the kids. You're priming a child to grow up to not fear these concepts of abduction, and they are even talking about like having samples taken. Like it was normalizing things.
Probe.
Probe. Oh, so I'm just getting probed. Like he was happy to get probed. Things that felt very much directed at just like normalizing certain things that I believe that will be way more out there and people will get to learn about it. So it's really important to like prepare kids to receive some of these concepts. Even when you see like the alien forms and the way the physical forms that they took,
they're kind of interdimensional. The craft is non-physical. The craft spawns from the ocean.
Yep.
Right at the top.
A lot of telepathy.
Telepathy. There's all the classic sort of like tropes, but reimagined. Not even tropes. The classic like symptoms of an abduction, but reimagined in a Pixar universe.
Yeah.
You know, they made it cute and whatnot, which is wild because you know, obviously horrific to a lot of people. And to make a Pixar movie out of it was interesting. And then beyond that, you know, the happy story of, you know, which was a great story, great message. Beyond that, you have some very real military presence in this movie. And we stayed to the end. I remember, you know, we watched the end credits here. And at the very end, this is so wild because I wanted to see it because you see the badge, it says Space Force.
Yeah.
It's the Air Force Base. And there's even a box, and they mention Arrow.
That was the craziest mention in the whole film, I think.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is there aliens there? I don't know, but Arrow's here, and like we're like, wait, we got to rewind it. We're like, did they say Arrow?
We literally had in the same breath we go, did they just say Arrow? And then we rewinded like 10 seconds to hear it again.
And they did, and then even on one of the crates, you know, just like those skunkwork crates in Close Encounters, you had the Arrow, AARO, you know, on the box. So I was like, oh, they're really putting this out there. And then at the very end, there's a mention, and it says, and I'll put this up, but it says Future Earth Ambassadors, right?
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
And it has a bunch of first names. And then under that, it says, the producers gratefully acknowledge the cooperation of the United States Department of Defense and Department of the Air Force. Additionally, the producers acknowledge the Guardians, with a capital G, serving in the United States Space Force for their time and help in lending authenticity to our narrative about space missions and daily life in the military. So, I mean, kind of wild, but you do have to get everything approved through like, you know, the Defense Department, but it is insane that they're like, we're grateful to the Department of Defense. I mean, a Pixar movie about abductions. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And then like for the depiction to make it authentic, I'm like, the entire thing is about alien spacecrafts and interdimensional. What do you mean lend authenticity to our story?
Yeah.
So you're saying that we're talking about an authentic story.
And there's
here?
like a retrieval at the end too, where they It's kind of crazy.
And it's just, as you said, like, we've never really seen, like, Space Force is like and it's the Air Force's logo. Like,
Yep.
they're not.
It's not some made up thing. Yeah, they use like legit Space Force
Yeah.
things. The other thing that I thought was really interesting at one point, you pointed out, the child's aunt who's in Space Force, and she keeps referencing astronauts. They reference astronauts a whole bunch and don't even get into it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But she plucks a hair sample from like one of the aliens and looks at it in a microscope. And it's a whole thing about alien hair.
Yeah.
And I just did this podcast with Peter
Yeah.
about an alien hair. So I filmed that whole segment. I'll put it up here. But I sent that to Peter and I was like, dude, what? And he's like, where do you think they got that idea? I'm like, I don't know, but it's kind of crazy that we're looking at alien hair now in a Pixar movie.
No, there were so many references. It's on Disney Plus if anyone wants to check it out. Definitely recommend it, especially if people out there with their kids and they already hear you talking about this all the time. Feel like that would be quite a good generational bridge.
Yeah, maybe that's the recommend.
Yeah.
For the very young
Very
audience.
young, yeah, exactly.
You got to start somewhere.
What would be a recommendation for? Like, what would you send people to if they...
Yeah, I think the phenomenon as well. There's also there's a few things. The phenomenon would definitely be one, but I'm a big fan of like moment of contact.
Yeah.
And I think for the hard skeptic out there, I think the moment of contact is like a sole single case with many, many witnesses in a town that has like, you don't see a lot of reason for people to be lying.
Yeah.
And I think that one hit home for me like a lot because it also happened during my lifetime.
Yeah.
96, I would have been 12 years old. Like, that's a wild thing to think about for me to be like, oh, I was playing outside with friends while, some aliens were running around in this town. And then lastly, I think the show, I'm trying to think of the name here. It was a Steven Spielberg show. It's on YouTube. Do you know this?
No.
Not Contact? Is it? It's not Contact.
Great movie though.
Oh yeah, great movie. I'll Google it real quick. But this is, if you've never seen this, you're gonna love this. No, Encounters was a docuseries from Netflix. Taken. Do you know about Taken?
No.
Whoa.
What?
Taken is probably, I would say, like after you watch that, you go, Spielberg knows. It's a 10.
You watch Close Encounters and you're like,
yeah. Wait till you see Taken.
Okay.
Because it's like psyop, Nazis, crash retrieval, alien bodies, autopsies. It goes into like all and like psionics and like, dude, it is.
When was it made?
This was like early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Free on YouTube, 10 episodes called Taken. Every time I ask somebody like, oh, what's something you should watch? Everybody references Taken because
I have never even heard of it.
Flew under the radar, and it's Spielberg.
Okay.
I got my own theories about Spielberg, but.
Well, when you said, Spielberg knows, I think there's been a select few people in society that.
Like in media and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That have been, and I think Disney has had
I think he's got a very important role.
Yeah. Big time, I think. And it's like, we're now in like the. Maybe final act, the act before the final act in his like disclosure mission.
Yeah,
with the film coming out next year.
Apparently, that's not the name of the movie.
Oh, it's not going to be Disclosure?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe Two on the Nose or something.
But it's also maybe like, I threw this theory out there.
Okay.
A couple months ago where I was like, what if? All right, like Spielberg.
Shows a craft.
A long time ago. Well, that's what I'm thinking. What if a long time ago he was given a deal? Like, hey man, play ball. You're going to be our guy. We're going to fund you. We'll give you, who names a movie Close Encounter of the Third Kind? Like, what an insane, who would let you name that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
That's who.
Wow, I never thought this way.
That's the wildest title of a movie.
Yeah.
Hollywood, millions of dollars. We're going to let you just ruin it with some sentence of a name. Like, there's no way. It's an obscure passage in J. Allen Hynek's book. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna let you do that. We'll let you do whatever you want, essentially.
Wow.
And from Taken to E.T. to Close Encounters. He's just hit the entire spectrum of soft disclosure, and then gets a movie and calls it Disclosure. And I'm thinking, what better way to serve up disclosure in America than to see it on the big screen while you're stuffing your face full of popcorn? And you look at the opening credits and it goes, this movie features a real UFO, courtesy of the United States Navy or Air Force or whatever. And then you go, wait, what? And even maybe the actors don't even know that they're filming inside of a UFO. Maybe they don't know. Maybe that's what all the hubbub was in Jersey, because that's exactly the time that they were filming.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so right after. And so maybe they were moving something. And so I thought, whoa, I wouldn't be too mad. I would not be mad at all if you told me that was Disclosure. I would forgive so much. I would look past a lot of the shortcomings the government had and be like, yeah, but you gave us the biggest blockbuster hit of all time.
Yeah.
In theaters now, get to see a real UFO. There's no more American way of disclosure.
There is no American.
And when that movie title came out, Disclosure, 2 people in Congress retweeted it, Burleson and Luna. And they said, you won't want to miss this about the movie.
So they know what the content of the movie before. Yeah.
I don't know that they know that, but that's a wild thing to tweet out from a congressperson, like about a movie.
Yeah.
Like that's not super credible. It's weird. So I just thought, man, that would be it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. If that was to come true.
Yeah, maybe they caught wind of this and they were like, man, we got to change the name now. This guy's hot on our trail.
No, he's just, clearly. Well, I just watched E.T. for the first time like 3 weeks ago, which I know for people that like knowing that I'm into the topic. By the way, I haven't seen Star Wars, Star Trek. Like I've actually, as a kid, I didn't like fantasy. I didn't like sci-fi. Don't respond well to things that don't feel real.
Yeah.
That's my closest friends find it really, really ironic now that I'm saying all these things that don't sound real whatsoever, but to me, they're more real than this.
And E.T. was very real. There's a lot of very real elements in E.T.
Yeah. The telepathy stuff.
Also making us look at this ugly, hideous creature and thinking it's friendly.
Which is what I thought Elio did really, really well. A lot of hideous creatures that...
Why would... Don't be scared of these.
Normalizing different forms,
Yeah. Maybe they're friendly.
It's funny. I actually didn't watch E.T. because I thought that thing was hideous. And I thought, I was like, it's just like...
It's a wild choice.
Yeah.
To make a cute friend.
Like, yeah. No, it's...
Have you seen Flight of the Navigator?
No.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one. They actually shot that at NASA. They shot it at the...
What is it called? Flight of
the Navigator.
Okay. I'll check it.
Yeah, dude. 80s.
Okay.
Oh, all day.
Amazing.
The audience already knows. Like, Flight of the Navigator is a solid movie. A kid who has like a psionics relationship with like a UFO and like...
Oh, wow.
Dude, it is...
Oh, wow.
On the nose so many different ways. They test him like... They literally hook him up to like one of these things, like an oscilloscope, and have him like move frequencies. Where did you hear that before? Dan Sherman?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's in that movie.
Whoa.
Yep. Yeah, there's all sorts of really interesting stuff in that movie.
It makes sense, right? Like to what we were talking about, you really change people's minds by making them feel, not giving information. And if you've already made them feel something in a story that is close enough to what will happen, you've already simulated that reality for them, that when it actually happens, the reaction is not going to be as jarring or as intense. So I think softening the blow has been the name of the game for Hollywood for the past 7 years.
Definitely.
And I think, Disney, not because of Elio, because of other things, Disney has had like a big role in that. Yeah. And Spielberg has had a big role of that. Someone like, I don't know, James Cameron he made Abyss, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And, I feel like we're just the new generation that is doing it, not because someone in the government is being like, oh, this is the deal. We'll give you access to these whistleblowers. But, you know, like we're just doing it because we're genuinely following our curiosity, and, you know, we get to do it in ways that is so creative and so innovative. Like we are putting our art and artistry into being able to tell these stories in a way that, in like movies, make people feel things and give people a sense of, you know, entertainment and enjoy watching something. And I, you know, as I said, that's why I really respect what you've come to add to the space, and yeah, man, I take a lot of inspiration from that going into this next stage and you know, building I'm excited. What I want to build. Yeah,
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see, because you're also a very creative thinker, and you know, it's just always nice to be able to, as a creator, get inspired, you know, by other like-minded people who, you know, have a different angle to things. So, I mean, you know, that's the other thing too, like collaboratively, you know, we're going to get way further. If you look at the history of man, all of our innovations have come from war. All of our technological innovations have come from war. We're extremely good at killing people. Like that's what humanity's unfortunately really good at.
Yeah.
And, you know, very creative in finding ways to do that. I'd like to imagine, once we get past all that, how faster and exponentially faster we grow, technologically speaking, when we collaborate.
100%.
When we figure out that, like, oh, you know, it's not always sword sharpens sword. Like, we don't have to do that. And once we get past that, I think that's, if there is a spacefaring civilization that's, you know, left their own solar system or their own planet, they've gotten there because they've stopped war.
Yeah. And maybe that's the great filter that was, you know, being referred to by Fermi.
Yeah.
Is it Fermi? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the great filter is to get past that point of
to drop the nukes.
Yeah. And I don't know where I heard that, but I heard it yesterday or this morning. Maybe our purpose was not
that was me
create the nukes, but
I said like maybe the
get rid of them.
Yeah, like a prime directive.
Yeah.
Instead of having that prime directive be, oh, you discover warp drive,
you
discover nuclear warheads, it becomes, oh, you've discovered nukes and now you throw them away.
Yeah, you've risen above it.
That's where they're like, hey, welcome to the family.
Yeah. And again, maybe that's why they have the deep interest in our nuclear installations and anything.
And we were close with Kennedy.
Yeah.
That's as close as we got to, you know, with JFK.
You know, speaking of nuclear and presidents, because it's relevant, we're in Canada. Do you know that Jimmy Carter responded to the biggest nuclear disaster in North America here in Canada, and he was one of the engineers that they got dropped down to the core of the reactor that
really
messed up, and he was radioactive for like a couple of months after.
No way.
So when you think about so Jimmy Carter is a nuclear engineer,
right?
If there's any U.S. president that is going to have a sighting, who would it be?
Yeah,
a nuclear engineer. Like when I connected the dots there, I was like, oh my god, it makes so much sense. Not once, he sees it twice, and I think as looking at U.S. presidents as someone who's like really put peace and cooperation at the forefront of policy, he was definitely someone that did that.
Yeah.
May his soul rest in peace. And I know that he wasn't revered as like a great president, but I just think in terms of values and in terms of like someone who's like lived up to such great values to the very end of their life, he was.
If ever there was a president to make contact, might have been it.
Yeah.
I fear, you know, throwing a world leader in front of an extraterrestrial. You know, initially I think of Eisenhower, the militarized, you know, industrial complex.
Well, you know what, a crazy connection that I also like couldn't get over when I got into the topic. I came to America for the first time through an invitation by Mary Jean Eisenhower.
Whoa.
His granddaughter.
Whoa, yeah. And
she just started this nonprofit called People to People International. And in my small town in Sadat City in Egypt.
Maybe her daughter's into it. His daughter or his granddaughter. One of them.
So I'm talking about his granddaughter now.
Okay.
Because she's old. I mean, she was in her maybe 50s or 60s 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like, I was representing Egypt and I went to Colorado Springs.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is like also weird.
Hotspot.
Yeah. But I just always found it to be like such a wild coincidence that I like my first time in America was because I was, you know, participating in her nonprofit that was about connecting people, and all these years later I discovered that maybe her
maybe
grandpa.
you've been ushered into this disclosure thing and you don't even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your path has been chosen for you.
Yeah, but I do think his speech, his feral speech, is one of the most important and slept on.
Terrifying.
Yeah, like I think, if anything, it's that speech that makes me think that something happened during his time.
Oh yeah,
and they, and the military-industrial complex, acted in a way that completely put humanity's interest on the side, and I think that just really, really scared him on his way out, and then
only scared him when he lost power.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
could have.
When you have power, you kind of don't see it, I guess, or you're part of the machine, you're part of the game.
Yeah, and
you're out and you go, wait, what have I done? What's going on here? This is dangerous. Yeah, it's one of those things, man. And like, it's Cold War era, so that's I have a hard time blaming them for covering that up back then. Coming from what had happened at the Manhattan or the Manhattan Project and like all that stuff, they were sworn to secrecy, and because of that, were deemed heroic. And so that mentality kind of didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
That was still the mentality post-war, that if you were read into a secret compartmentalized special access program, that you were considered heroic. And that patriotism is what covered up a lot of that stuff for a lot of years, and now it's starting to wane. I think it's starting to, rip at the seams, because people, the more patriotic thing would seem to protect the people and not just the military's interest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So out of all the people, like, you've met some really, for someone just getting into the space as well, you've gotten to, through, knowing Jesse, you've gotten to meet David Grusch. You've gotten to hang out with Lou Elizondo, with Beatrice Villarreal.
Villarreal, yeah.
Villarreal,
yeah.
Okay. Close enough. You got to meet all
so many people.
Yeah, all these.
Diana Pasulka,
that's
Mario
right.
Woods, Whitley Strieber, like just so many of the people that define my journey and like looking into all this stuff.
Yeah. Even Jake Barber.
Yeah.
Aside from David Grusch, who was someone that really rocked your world?
Mario Woods.
Yeah.
I think maybe because there was a connection to Egypt there, where he just, for context, but I mean, his story is so wild that you should just check out Jesse's video that he did on him. That Mario Woods was a nuclear security officer, protecting a nuclear installation called November 5 in, was it Montana?
November 5 is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Remember the 5th of November.
I watched, last time I watched that movie, I watched it with Jesse. I think I didn't stop crying for like 10-15 minutes after. It hit me so fucking deep. And again, I like, for context too, I'm a child of the Arab Spring and the Egyptian Revolution. It was, I was the most defining, pivotal years of my life where then I had so much hope for like political change to happen through, people mobilizing and coming together. And so I get very affected by stories of revolution and revolutionaries and people, sacrificing for a greater cause.
So Mario Woods.
Yeah, thank you for putting me back on track. So I went on a tangent about November.
Yeah, that was me. That was my fault.
Sorry,
that was my fault. I hit you with the November 5.
Yeah.
My brain, connected Travis Walton's thing when Bob Lazar came. It's all 5th of November, and then you have November 5, and I'm like, what is going on?
Maybe I'll just keep it. I'll keep it light. But
also yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, true. Mario Woods, nuclear security officer. One night, as he's guarding one of the nukes, he just has this incredible encounter where. Missing time, all the classics, missing time, big object.
Massive object.
Describes it as a sphere the size of a Walmart hovering 10 feet above where this nuke is, where like the door would open, and then the thing, the orb, whatever that sphere was, like activates the nuke, and like the door starts opening, and then he's immediately starting thinking about like the procedure for what he does to prevent like he was gonna go drive his truck over that door so that when the door opens, the truck goes down on the missile guidance system, and the ICBM doesn't go out. Like, it's the scariest situation that you could find yourself in as a nuclear security officer. You have a nuke that is going on online. So, there was just something so, first of all, he's just a sharp man who, you would never guess he's 70 years old now. You could be like, this man is in the early 50s.
Yeah.
It's just like, you can just feel the life force, which also makes you think like, of course, that's the guy they would pick to protect nukes. Like the crown jewels of of defense in the world.
Yeah.
He was just so sharp and lucid, remembered things so clearly. You just felt like he was like a no bullshit guy. And then I think the other thing that I think made it more of a personal experience is that he never really had interest in the pyramids or Egypt, but after that experience, he started getting a shit ton of downloads about Egypt, and he would see hieroglyphics and
a lot of dreams, a lot of like sort of like what felt like prophetic dreams that he had, and like journeys in those dreams that felt more vivid than regular dreams. Yeah. He still acknowledges them as dreams, by the way. He doesn't say that they were like real, but they affected him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, I asked him if he'd ever been to Egypt, and he said no. And I just told him like I would be honored to just be the reason for him, to go to Egypt. So at some point in the next few months, he was getting his passport. I plan on taking him to Egypt.
Wow.
I just want to watch him see the pyramids for the first time, and I want to take him to the new museum. And
that's right. They just opened that.
Yeah. Like, I think
I want to go to Egypt.
We should just take him. We should go there and interview him there. Like,
let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Amazing.
All right.
Yeah. I just for some reason I have these like feelings that certain artifacts are going to call him in more than others, because he told me the story once about he visited a collector in the U.S. Like Egyptian artifacts collector, and apparently instinctively he went to like the oldest, most mysterious object in the entire collection. It was like hundreds of pieces, and the collector found it to be very odd that he just like, that's the one that he
knew.
Yeah. So I just again, go back to the question, I just found him to be super sincere and just very likable as a person, and I was very happy that people that was like the main bulk of people's comments on Jesse's videos, that they really liked him. And I could just, it was like a really amazing, sometimes you talk to people and you really have like a positive reaction to them in the moment, like sitting with them, but maybe on camera it doesn't, it doesn't translate as well. But with him, it was just like equally as good in person as it was on camera. He's just a stud, you know, like.
Yeah. I spoke to him. Jesse introduced me to him, and I spoke to him over the phone one night for like 3 hours.
Yeah, amazing.
I was in my pool, and I see the text. Like, I was like, I was gonna call him right now. See what's up. Let's call him right now.
Yeah.
And we just stayed on the phone for like 3 hours. I had all my wrinkly hands afterwards. I couldn't walk away.
Yeah.
He's the most fascinating guy. And no BS. Just very. I mean, to be in that line of work, by the way, it's not everybody who can do that, because it's the standards are so high and the testing is so rigorous, and making sure that you're sober mind is like imperative, because you're in charge of the most dangerous thing in the world.
Yeah.
You have within your line of sight something that can destroy the entire earth and everything on it forever. Did you watch, there was a movie recently, Dynamite Room or something?
Not yet, but I heard that the DOD did not like.
Really?
Yeah. They went out, they made a statement, they said that is not like
it would never happen.
Yeah.
Because it scared the crap out of me. Like, it is scary.
Yeah.
You see this like scenario, right, of this doomsday scenario, and you see it from like 3 points of view is essentially the movie. And whoa, if it is anything like that, we're not as safe as we think we are.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying. Like when you see that, like somebody describes it as hitting a bullet with another bullet is what we have to do to like stop these things. You're like, wait, what? I thought you guys had this locked in. And so I can understand why the DoD would not like that.
Yeah. I think it was a specific reference around, I think they mentioned a stat in the film about like our air defense against nukes.
Like 60%.
Yeah, but they came and negated that. They were like,
of course.
no, everything that we have
Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. But of course you'd say that.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Even in the movie, there's a guy, I don't want to give too much, but there is a guy like, higher up, a general or whatever, and he's calming people down in the other room, and he's like, no, it's just a glitch on the screen or whatever. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're America. We got this. But yeah, it's terrifying.
So yeah, let's definitely take Mario Woods to Egypt and
that'd be cool.
Get to just experientially live that with him and ask him more about his about his story.
I had some like Egyptian sightings in my DMT trip too. So
no way.
Yeah.
Then okay, let's go. What about you? Who's someone that you've talked to that really left an impact?
I think a lot of I think a lot of people have.
Okay.
I'm trying to pinpoint exactly who I could say, because a lot of them have. I would say, Peter Curry was, I think, one of the most impactful because, again, I would rather talk to a farmer than a lawmaker.
Yeah.
In this category. And
100%.
Peter Curry, not just like everybody else in the world, not without his flaws, and he's human. And when you talk to experiencers, as a magician, I'm aware that things might not always be as it was, and that's not their fault. That's just the human condition in relaying story.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, seeing his emotional response to what he was saying struck me as very genuine.
Yeah.
And the context of what he was saying was so radical that, talking about being presented his alien child. And that was like I told you off camera, it was like the 5th time I've heard something like that in person by experiencers off the podcast. Incredible people. And didn't know about each other's story because these aren't in print. And they're telling me the same details of how that went down, and then seeing him break down. To me, that was like extremely, extremely profound, and definitely, if you're just getting into the topic, don't start at that point of the conversation with with Peter Curry. But it is one of those, I've been following Dr. David Jacobs' work for a long time. I've been reading up on whether it's Bud Hopkins or John Mack or John Keel, like so many researchers, and that's come up even with Bud Hopkins and Deborah Jordan, that that comes up as well. And it, to me, would, if anything, would mess you up more so than having a sample taken or, doing something weird to your privates or like whatever that is. I think being shown what you believe to be your offspring on an alien ship that looks, it's got a big head and stuff, like, what are you even saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's got to mess you up forever, dude. And in any context, whether if what you're seeing you take to be true, then that will mess you up.
Yeah.
And so, I think that one. But anytime I hear an experience, or even Travis Walton, anytime I hear somebody who's experienced something, Joe McMoneagle, I think, even though Joe tells story, he's a good storyteller. He's got a lot of receipts.
Yeah.
Dr. Edwin May was another one who, really blew my mind. And yeah, so quite a few.
Yeah, another person that definitely left a massive impact was Robert Hastings.
Yeah.
UFOs and Nukes.
Yep.
Just as like one of the most referenced, hard-headed empirical like evidence that you can give to whatever engineer you're talking to that doesn't believe that something happens. Like that's usually a big reference that I give. And getting to talk to him and getting to know more than what is mentioned in UFOs and Nukes.
Yeah.
About his own personal experiences.
Raise your conviction level even higher.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It actually made me realize that the people who have come forward, it's most likely that they haven't told us everything.
Yeah.
Because if they tell us everything,
they got nothing left.
They got nothing. No, not that they even got nothing left, but they're almost trying to manage the way someone will receive the information. Like,
oh yeah,
like some parts of this are almost too extreme to be mentioned, and they keep it out. So for instance, like the fact that he's had the people that have come up to him to self-report that they've had close encounters of the third kind post their military installation encounters was pretty high, and he's pretty high conviction that it's way more people than the ones that self-reported. Seeing something and interacting with a light or is different than, oh no, I end up on the craft. Not just that craft continued to come and visit me for the years that followed. Like that's a different story. Yeah, to just, and again, he's in his late 70s or early 80s, and to just see that level of passion, and to see someone who's put their whole life to help making sure that at some point people just know that all of this happened.
Yeah.
And now, it is for you, me, and Jesse, it's like we always reference that as like as a way for someone to get confirmation from people who are extremely credible on the nature of the phenomenon or its relationship to nukes.
Yeah.
So yeah, funny enough that both people are nuclear connected.
Well, it's an undeniable truth.
Yeah.
When you mention people in that position.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely, if you're looking for some type of like stability in, warming up to this,
yeah,
you would need credibility, and people who are vouched for. That's why, pilots who are trained to see things, are so much in people's eyes held in higher regard when it comes to sightings and reporting, or police officers, and so many police officers, by the way.
Yeah.
I've covered, I think, 3 or 4 cases, but like other than Lonnie Zamora, I mean, there's so many police officers.
I mean, you're telling me too some of the calls that you're getting.
Yep.
The ones that play at the beginning of episodes, which by the way, I freaking love.
Yeah. I have thousands.
Yeah.
There's thousands of calls.
Which, by the way, I think, okay, maybe you guys can encourage Chris to do this, but I think the cases that he finds interesting, if he does a follow-up just on the phone, like from the SCIF or from your desk, I would watch that.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I feel like it would be pretty light conversation, and also knowing that, well, this person, I'm only like listening to them through their voice, their face is not on, they don't really have much to gain.
I'll try it.
I feel like that could, maybe if you guys want that.
Dude, I'm down. I'm down to do fun things.
Yeah.
I'll do one. I've already got a few in mind.
Okay, amazing.
I would have to clear it with them. A lot of people don't want to be, but if it's over the phone, maybe they'll just like...
Yeah, you just change the pitch of their voice and have them just like put the names in different with aliases or something.
Sure. Yeah, because there's some wild stories out there, dude.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people get upset. They're like, "Why'd you cut it?" I'm like, "It's a minute. It gets cut automatically," and I like it. I like it that it's like, oh,
yeah,
oh,
and then if you want to follow up, you just
it shows you how many people are out there, man. How many stories are out there.
For me, what really hit me is after we put the Grusch piece, I started getting DMs from around the world.
Yep.
And then I made a point in all my travels with Yes Theory, in asking people in the places that I travel to that are very far and off the beaten path, whether it's, I don't know, Yakutia in Yakutsk in Yakutia, in like in Siberia in Russia, you know, or Kazakhstan near the nuclear testing site. And I have like an 8 out of 10 hit rate with just complete strangers that are not at all connected to like in different places. People have stories. People have seen things. Their parents have seen things. Like he was a Yes Theory subscriber that came and very kindly, you know, greeted us into Kazakhstan. And as I do, I just talk about the phenomenon, talk about this. And he told me, when I watched that video in the Berkshires, it was the first time he remembered something that his mom said when he was a kid about something that she went through, that he never believed and kind of dismissed. But that video was the reason he went back to his mom and asked her about the experience. And it was a classic abduction experience in Kazakhstan, just like back in the day.
Everybody's got a story, man.
Yeah, which is, by the way, Kazakhstan also, the reason I asked there, because it's where the most nuclear tests on Earth, you know,
I didn't know that.
Happen, the most density in any places.
Whoa. Yeah, that would be a hot spot then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I just
there's a follow-up video in Kazakhstan to be done.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, the amount of follow-ups if I were to just like fully track, you know, trace the.
I mean, Kazakhstan is a wild one. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where would you go? Where would you go if you had like top 3 spots to go that are like obscure?
Oh, you know what? Just something else on Kazakhstan. So we were interviewing for the episode that we did there. It was about the nuclear testing site. We interviewed some of the people that participated in, that were around serving during that time. And I remember it just hit me. The reaction of one of them when I asked about UFOs was so like shut down, firm, no, like as if felt like immediately it's like, oh, that's an order that you had a long time ago.
Whoa.
That you immediately kind of like fell back into, and you were like completely shut down the topic. Because one of the people that I talked to is one of the people responsible for dismantling the last nuke out of the Soviet Union.
Whoa.
Out of Kazakhstan, at least.
What a job.
Yeah. I highly recommend that also, the episode, if you like good intersection point with the audience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to check it out. That's wild. Where would you say, what are 2 other countries that you would like to investigate that are obscure, that are not like super, you know, well known?
I would like to go to where some of the tribes that have lore around, African tribes.
African.
Yeah. That have lore around aliens or beings.
Yeah, there's reptilian.
Yeah, there's the
whispers
ant
of like, the ant people.
Yeah.
There's like the reptilian stuff too about, there's also, where's the tribe, where was the country that had the like the Ark of the Covenant? Was that Ethiopia? Yeah. There's some stuff there as well.
And then the other one is just because I'm curious. I'm, you know, Egyptian born and raised. Egypt. I have not heard any stories out of Egypt, but that feels odd. Like, I think
it's true.
I think there's something there. I also, maybe again, it's a bit of a tangent, but I do think that the true history of Egypt is very much connected to disclosure.
Yeah, Egypt would be a cool place.
Like for me, you know, going back to my homeland, and especially now, every time I go back, I'm like going to a different museum to just look at the artifacts and look at what's written and what's depicted, and I'm looking at everything with such a new light.
Yeah,
and the light with what we know about, or the little that we know about nature of reality, or you know, potential ancient civilizations, times of open contact, maybe, that allowed us to potentially have the technology to be able to build these things that today we don't even know how they did it. I feel like, there's I've always had a connection to the pyramids since I was a kid. Like, a big part of my story with Yes Theory is connected to the pyramid.
Of course,
An attempt to climb the pyramid when I was 19, becoming the first person to ever get a legal permission to do it. But then, like, because of corruption, I get prevented, and then 10 years later, I, you know, managed to like skydive over the pyramid. So the pyramid has always been a part of my story. It's like, I am who I am today because I grew up half an hour away from it, and it was always, to me, that's like the sign that you can do the impossible. Like, affected me to the deepest part of my core, and I just have a feeling that Egypt's history, Egypt's true ancient history, is connected to the true nature of reality way more than we think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would agree with that
Yeah.
too. In what way? That's to be determined.
Yeah, in what way? That's I think in the way where we've already lived a chapter where
Sure.
open contact was a thing.
Yes, and it's not what you think.
And it's not what you think. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like maybe not so nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is like astral traveling. And,
Exactly.
and obviously the use of like
Psychedelics too.
psychedelics,
Yeah.
vibration chambers, meditation chambers, like things like that.
Yeah.
I think, definitely they were onto something, and it was working.
Yeah.
It was working a lot more than whatever came after them.
Yeah. And for me, what I always found odd is just the natural life cycle of a civilization. You go like this.
Yeah.
You start from somewhere, you get really good, and something happens at your peak, and then the downfall happens. With ancient Egyptian civilization, it's weird. It kind of starts at the top with the most impressive things being presented, and then throughout time, it just kind of
it almost seems like they discovered that first one.
Yeah.
And then they try to replicate it.
And weirdly too, you look at the artifacts of the families that come later, and they just feel like copies of
replicas, like cheap replicas.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
it seems like it's and that's not above us or beneath us, rather, to discover something and build on top of it. We've done that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So like if you find ruins somewhere, you say, that's a good foundation. We can build on that.
Yeah.
That's been done throughout history.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't put it past Egyptians discovering ancient Egyptian stuff, or ancient Egyptians discovering ancient Egyptian stuff.
Yeah.
And being like, hey, we can use that. Let's build on that.
For sure. So I just between some of these African tribes, which by the way I really like that point in Diana Pasolka's book Encounters, the most recent one, which is the fact that we seek this we look at disclosure with a very Western perspective, as if it hasn't happened for indigenous people in other places.
Sure.
It's like very single perspective, only here. No, it needs to happen within these parameters of getting certain evidence and it being within the scientific framework,
peer reviewed,
so that we can like deem it true. But no, people have been on Earth for freaking millennia, and they've had their own culture and their own stories that describe these things. And I just want to interact more. I think I'm so, after all these years in the US and spending looking at all these whistleblowers and meeting people, I'm just so tired and done with that part of disclosure.
Yeah.
I want to be out taking Mario Woods to Egypt.
I don't think you're alone, by the way.
I want to be going to, Norway and Sweden with Jesse to chase stories there, and like that I feel is the path to true disclosure.
Definitely.
And it's so empowering. And it's like, that's why I get so freaking excited whenever, you or Jesse put out something that just feels truly, groundbreaking and just like moving the needles for so much. Because I always think, and maybe now that I know the demographic of the audience, maybe I'll think of it less. But I always think of just like, there's some PhD candidate that was watching this, because we've had that during the public hearing with Grusch.
Sure.
Like this, Yes Theory subscriber that came, she was a PhD candidate in physics, and I could just see it live happening in front of me. I could see her worldview changing, and potentially maybe even the subject of her thesis
shifting
would shift because Dave has just opened up her mind towards something. And I always think about the chain reaction effect that we will never get to know.
Yeah.
We will never get to know who's the person that is watching that maybe will go to their lab and do an experiment based on just something that you on the go you said, not thinking anything of it, and maybe that will create some sort of breakthrough that you'll never get to know that you're the link to it. So to me, that's at the core of the Yes Theory's message of impact, is to activate that chain reaction effect. Because when you do something that is from the most authentic part of you, because you're curious or because you want to explore something, that has the power in moving something in someone else in the same way that gets them to do that in their own life.
Yeah, it's a playful energy.
Yeah. And I always think about just like this path and these conversations creating a chain reaction that we may never be able to track, but it's 100% is the path to this next paradigm shift and to the awakening that I believe that we're going through right now. So man, keep up the good work, and I'm will be here as your biggest, fan, you and Jesse, and
I appreciate
anything I
it.
can ever do to support the mission and help grow it bigger. I'm always here for it, and I really look forward to just like our collaboration on what's next, and whatever way I decide to pursue this calling of using my skill set to create these access points for people to get to know about the phenomenon and get to know about disclosure and go through their own journey to get there.
Yeah.
I really look forward to.
I can tell, man. You're radiating. It's going to be fun to watch.
And there's nothing like, all my friends will say that it is a topic that as soon as I speak about, it just comes.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend, one of my best friends, Kate, just told me, whenever you speak, I almost visualize every chakra in you just fully aligned because you're speaking from like every part of you,
Yeah.
and I feel it, and I I could be in the worst mood and in a so tired I don't even want to like talk anymore, and as soon as the subject comes on, I just feel a fire inside of me, and I look forward to being able to harness that more into this calling, into this mission.
Stoked for you.
Likewise.
As some of you know, and if you don't, becoming a member here, or an intern as we call them, whether it's on Patreon or YouTube, you get access to a whole bunch of cool things. And one of those cool things is the potential to ask our amazing guests a question that you might have. And so we're bringing that up right now. Let's go with the first one.
Whoa. Which is the least known but most credible alien encounter story you've heard by Not Quite Human?
Not Quite Human is his name.
Yeah. Whoa, great question. Honestly, the Berkshires, which is the story of how I got into the whole topic, usually when I mention it to people even in the subject, they haven't heard much about it. And it's pretty historically relevant because it was the first case to be deemed historically accurate.
Historically true.
Historically true. And you've got different people in different towns that haven't met each other, that have had the same experience, seen the same crafts, because it was one big saucer and then a bunch of orbs the size of VWs.
They met each other.
Yeah, and then some of them remember seeing the other kids on top of the craft.
Yeah, that's a good
so
one.
yeah, I would say, I don't hear about it in a lot. Like it's not one of the famous cases, but I think it deserves a lot more attention just because of the amount of people that have had the experience of the interest of even the UN in it after.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
And northeastern United States is a bit of a hot spot for all those. You have obviously the Betty and Barney Hill incident. You have the incident at Exeter, which is also New Hampshire. So many cases. I'm thinking Linda Corteil, the Manhattan abduction.
Oh, yeah.
Whitley Strieber's happened there. Like, it's such a hot spot for alien abduction. But yeah, that's a great one. And to be frank, like last night you hit me with this, and I was like, you started talking about this, and I was like, somebody sent me a message about this, and it's the only screen that's open on my. It's so wild that you mentioned this because I'm looking into this right now for a possible investigation, read through. And I had no idea, self-admittedly, that you had made that video. And I don't know how, because I saw the Grusch video.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how it flew over my head. And I thought, man, how weird that I didn't, until you mentioned it. And then I also have it on my computer. And I was like, maybe I wasn't meant to be fully briefed on that. So last night, like after we talked, I watched your entire video.
Amazing.
I had to.
Oh, I'll easily connect you with Tom Reed if you want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Melanie, could be a good skip person.
that could be interesting for sure. Yeah, definitely. But you guys did such a great job on that. You covered a lot of the angles. All right, we'll go to the next one here. This is a really great question from Hex.
If you could visit an event in history as part of your seeking discomfort philosophy, what would it be?
The building of the pyramid.
Oh, yeah. That's a popular answer for that. For time traveling, a lot of people, want to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be so funny if like you get there and you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And they're just like this crazy pulley system. You're like, yeah.
So that or like the operation control room at the Roswell crash or whatever first crash happened in the US.
Yeah. The control room.
Like I want to see like the freak out.
Wow. So not even on the ground, boots on the ground, like where the crash is.
No, I think it would be more interesting to see because I'm more interested in the response. Like I believe I believe what what people say happened there. That I'm less curious about what actually happened because I feel like we're pretty close to knowing. But I'm really curious to know what made them decide to go the discourse that they've gone and know everything that followed after. Because I really think it probably defined so much. I mean, the CIA and the Air Force were created right after Roswell. Like, it feels like it was pretty monumental moment in U.S. history that I feel like it'd be pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
no,
crazy.
that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Mine would have been Aztec.
Ooh.
Yeah. 16 bodies, an intact craft. 2 weeks to pull that craft out through where they pulled it because of the winching system and the sand and stuff. They had to like pour these little slabs for the winch system, which are still there.
Wow.
Like all the trees are missing in that area.
Yeah, you've gone.
I was boots on the ground with all the, it is wildly convincing. Just the terrain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to I don't want to give away too much because, Jesse's project, it's an incredible. I know that UAP Gerb did a whole deep dive on it, but with respect to Jesse's work, I think that's going to be the best thing on his channel. Maybe I'm biased because I helped direct it, but the story is and it's funny. I spoke to Suzanne Ramsey yesterday, who Scott and Suzanne, they wrote some of the more definitive work other than Will Steinman on that crash,
and they spent a lot of their own money.
Oh my God, yeah, over $500,000.
Yeah,
throughout their 30 years or whatever it was of investigation. But yeah, that would have been mine.
I can't wait for that video to be out.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, yeah, so much. I know some of the things coming on your channel. I know some of the things coming on Jesse's channel. It is gonna be a wild winter/fall.
2026.
2026 is
looking pretty nice.
Yeah.
How has your philosophy of seeking discomfort evolved over time, by Tess?
How has it evolved over time?
So where it started to where it is now, what does seeking discomfort mean for you then, and what does it mean for you now? Has it stayed consistent?
It has stayed consistent. I think I'm just more careful with not pushing out of my comfort zone into the panic zone. There's like a good buffer area where you're not, where a lot of think of it as like the optimal zone of having high stress but not high stress enough that you burn out. It actually has a scientific name. I just forget. Like someone in 1902 came up with a theory for that sweet spot of.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And
have you guys ever talked about that?
No, but it's gonna be in a book that is coming out. Which, by the way, you can think of it also in the context of exercise. Like if you work out so hard that you work out to tear your muscles in a way, micro tears, and that's how growth happens. But if you tear it so much, then you're simply just damaging your body. So I think learning the extent of discomfort where you're not in survival has been probably one of the biggest growing up elements of that has allowed the philosophy of seeking discomfort for me personally to evolve. And then
I love that.
Yeah, because it is, I think, young, you're just fucking full send, just like out of your comfort zone. No, you're not thinking about
seek discomfort, not dissociation.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not thinking about what the time that it takes to process an experience or the impact that going so hard through an experience will take on you. So
would you say you're more aware of the benefits of seeking discomfort now than you were before? Like the mission stayed the same, but now you're like more conscious of all the individual lessons that you're picking up through these. Like you've appreciated seeking discomfort more.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it also showed me where I haven't sought discomfort
Where you
enough,
missed it.
where I
Yeah.
missed it. So, for me, I feel like a big area where I missed it has been the discipline that some, the self-care habits take, whether that's, exercise or eating well or mindfulness, or just feel like I was always kind of like on the go, didn't really prioritize that before. It took me a while, training for this marathon is the first thing that I've ever trained for in my entire life. I like have a habit to show up more for like the big moments and do it well and do it comfortably, but don't really show up for like the prep work. I kind of fall short in that. And I think seeking discomfort for me now is realizing that, saying that I'm just good at like, the big moments is just a cop out from, fully putting the effort that it takes to prep for something, which is a risk because you're raising the stakes. Now you've put time and effort into something. So I think, for me, it's, I think seek discomfort has been like a self-updating philosophy.
Yep.
You can't really get to the bottom and be like, I have sought all the discomfort that I can seek.
Sure.
I've sought a lot of like intellectual discomfort in my life, spiritual, and being able to like define how I want to live and what values and what is it what is my relationship to God, what is God to me, all these things. But as I said, not so much in like the physicality of of discomfort of pushing my body.
That's great. Yeah. So there has been an evolution
for sure.
But it's
becoming more selective,
right,
with it.
Well, it's almost like it's interesting. It's like anything else, with mastery.
Yeah.
Whether it's learning sleight of hand or learning how to be a comedian, or it takes practice, it takes mastery. And seeking discomfort, I don't think is I think it falls into that category as well. It's a skill.
Yeah.
And it's a talent that you can excel at. Sure, you can do at any point. Anybody can throw a basketball through a hoop, but as you get better at it, you learn to appreciate it more.
Yeah.
The art in it, the your own arc within it, like all of these, fun things to appreciate.
Exactly.
So, lastly, we got a cool question here for the last one here.
Last one's by Jesse Michaels. When are you starting your UFO Earth Embassy channel and fulfilling your destiny, Jesse Michaels?
Well, I did about 2 hours and 30 minutes ago. I have created the channel, and I'm not sure I wanna say its name right now.
Sure, yeah, it's fine. You can keep it.
But it's I am doing it. It's happening right now. So Jesse, I know that he's been one of the people that have been just the most supportive and guiding in that process of making that leap and going for it. So yeah, I really appreciate the role that he's played and the amount of things that he's included me in, the people that I've met because of him. So yeah, the answer is it's already happening right now, but 2026 is when it goes out to the world.
Amar, it's been amazing talking to you. Would you like to? We'll take a quick break. Would you like to stick around for the extra chat?
Absolutely.
All right. I do want to ask you, and maybe this is something I'm going to get reamed here in the comments, but I do want to ask you about a few sightings you've had.
Okay.
And unfair to the current audience. So actually, before we head out, one last thing. You've had a few sightings.
Yeah.
3 sightings. Yeah. Can you talk about one?
Yeah.
Right now?
I'll talk about the most recent one just because it's the one that lasted the longest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first 2 are like a split second of seeing something. So I always call them like a half sighting. But one was in Venice. I saw the fastest moving object in the sky at night. Far, self-illuminating, not blinking.
With your eyes?
With my eyes, just streaked across the sky. Not a shooting star. I could see the object the entire time. It's one. That was the second time. The first one was when I was at Lou's house in Wyoming with Jesse. And Jesse
Lou
mentions
Elizondo,
that, Jesse mentions that sighting before, but we both saw like almost the end of a green fireball shooting off the horizon up, but like we caught it at the very last second. We both saw this. We both saw the same thing, but again, a split second of seeing it. The last one was 2 months. It was a month and a half ago, and I was in Dubai. I was watching the movie Arrival in this like 2-person showing in the desert, like it's like the setup private movie theater set up and on the sand dunes under the stars, just like a
classic viewing experience.
Yeah, it was it was a date. And watched Arrival, one of my favorite movies, and the entire time I was watching, I was just feeling so much, and I prayed so much that something appears. And then after the movie ended, I was like, oh, asked my lady to, go on the side and like take a video. And as I was taking a video of just like kind of recording the moment, she like freaks out, goes, oh, what's that? And then I was looking at the phone and she's looking up. But then I look up and then this object kind of like stops in place, and it just like stays there and blinks erratically. Obviously, Dubai is like massive airspace, so many planes landing and taking off. So I'm seeing other planes in the sky. I know that I'm not looking at a plane. So what she sees is the object dart down almost from space, and then stay stationary and where we saw it.
How far off the ground?
Far? No.
Yeah,
far,
pretty high.
Yeah.
And what color light was it?
White
light.
Yeah.
It was pulsating, you said?
Pulsating,
wow.
But not rhythmically. Like
Ooh.
It was off rhythm.
And how long was this sighting?
3 to 4 minutes.
Whoa!
Yeah,
you're sitting there staring at this thing for 3 to 4 minutes.
There, putting my finger so I can actually tell that I'm looking at something that is like in the same place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, no sighting that is like a physical craft during daytime. And honestly, I think at the beginning of my journey, I was more obsessed with seeing. I actually wish for other people, like for other friends that I have and other people that maybe have a harder time with it, I wish for them to see it before I even get to see something. I don't feel like I'm missing the
you don't require the
seeing part for me to be on board with this. But first I really want it so bad. I look up all the time.
Yeah, I'm always looking up.
But at this point I know that when it's meant for me, it's gonna happen.
I'll give you a fun fact. First of all, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And they appreciate it too.
Of course.
Before we hop into the the Patreon extras, a fun little fact is that you mentioned these 1-800 number, the 1-800 calls that I get.
Yeah.
I've compiled because I do catalog them as well, and I have a bit of a database there. I'm a bit when it comes to this stuff, I like doing it.
I can tell.
Yeah,
with all the archiving stuff.
Yeah. Archiving and but I do have a list ongoing of people whose story starts with, I was having a smoke. Dude, I have like 50. That is an occurrence. And I think it has to, I think like my personal own like view of the psychology of that is that you are finally looking up. Because when else would you just be standing outside looking up?
Yeah.
Other than having a smoke.
Yeah.
And so many people are, I was just lighting a smoke.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this thing, and
like,
yeah, exactly.
Looking up, yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where like, and that's why if you don't know me, I look insane, but every time I get out of my car, I usually stop and I look up for like 10 seconds. And then anytime I'm outside, as soon as I go outside, I scan, and because that's where you're going to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you, people having a dart, smoking a cigarette, smoking a joint, whatever it is, they're seeing stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not even looking up that often.
Yeah.
So, get out there, look up. All right.
Great final message for this.
Absolutely. Guys, go follow Ammar's journey. Go follow Yes Theory. Go follow the future project that he's got going on. I'll leave all the links below. Thank you again, Ammar.
Thanks, Chris. And
don't go anywhere. If you want to join memberships or Patreon, just click the join button below and you can be part of the extra conversation that we're about to have. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Much love.